He thought he had killed me on our wedding night, but I surprised my husband. My name is Maya Jenkins, and on my wedding night, my husband tried to murder me. I know that sounds insane. Like something from a Lifetime movie. But I'm standing here today because I did something most people would never think to do on their wedding day. I hired a food taster. Let me back up. 3 months before the wedding, I was living in Miami, planning what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Desmond Carter swept me off my feet. Successful real estate developer, charming, generous. He proposed after 6 months of dating, and I said yes without hesitation. But then I found the life insurance policy. It was tucked in his desk drawer when I was looking for stamps. $5 million. Beneficiary, Desmond Carter. Insured, Maya Jenkins. The application date was 2 weeks after our engagement. My hands shook as I photographed it. Maybe it was normal. Maybe all couples did this. But something in my gut screamed that it wasn't right. So I started watching, listening. And what I discovered made my blood run cold. Desmond had a girlfriend, Lulu, and they'd been together for 3 years. Our entire relationship was a lie. I hired a private investigator. Within a week, I had everything. Photos of them together. Text messages planning my death. Voice recordings of Lulu saying, once the insurance money comes through, we'll be set for life. They were going to poison me on our wedding night with my favorite wine. Chateau Margaux 2015. The same wine Desmond had been buying for special occasions throughout our relationship, training me to expect it, to trust it. I should have run. Called the police. Canceled everything. But I was angry. 38 years old, and I'd finally found someone I thought loved me. My ex-husband had left me broke with 2 kids. I'd rebuilt my life from nothing. And now this man thought he could just erase me for money? No. I was going to make them pay. The wedding went forward as planned. 200 guests at the Biltmore Hotel. Desmond looked perfect in his tuxedo, smiling at me like he meant every word of his vows. Lulu was there too, disguised as a catering manager, watching everything with cold calculation. At the reception, Desmond's best man made a toast. To Desmond and Maya. May your love last forever. I smiled and raised my glass, knowing forever was supposed to end in about 4 hours. After the reception, we went to our honeymoon suite. Desmond opened the Chateau Margaux with ceremony, pouring 2 glasses. To us, he said, his eyes meeting mine. To us, I repeated. We drank. 30 minutes later, I collapsed on the floor. I lay there, eyes half closed, watching Desmond's face transform. The loving husband mask fell away, replaced by cold relief. He pulled out his phone. It's done, he said quietly. I heard Lulu's voice on the other end. Are you sure? She's not breathing. I'll call 911 in 20 minutes. Make it look like I tried to save her. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to stay still. To play dead. Because that's what I'd planned for. The wine I drank wasn't poisoned. My friend Sarah, a nurse, had helped me swap the bottles earlier that day. What I'd taken was a sedative that mimicked the symptoms of poisoning, lowering my heart rate and breathing to almost nothing. I was alive. But Desmond didn't know that. He sat on the bed, scrolling through his phone. Casual. Like he was waiting for a pizza delivery instead of his wife's death. $5 million, he muttered to himself. Finally. That's when I heard the key card in the door. Lulu walked in, her catering uniform gone, replaced by a tight red dress. Is she really dead? Lulu asked, kneeling next to me. Check her pulse, Desmond said. I felt Lulu's fingers on my wrist. My training with Sarah paid off. My pulse was barely detectable. She's gone, Lulu confirmed. God, Des, we really did it. They kissed over my body. I wanted to scream. To claw their eyes out. But I waited. Because the real revenge was still coming. 20 minutes passed. Desmond called 911, his voice panicked and perfect. My wife. Something's wrong. She's not breathing. Please hurry. Paramedics arrived within 7 minutes. They loaded me onto a stretcher, and I heard Desmond crying, begging them to save me. Academy Award performance. At the hospital, they pronounced me dead at 11:47 p.m. Desmond sobbed in the hallway while Lulu, still in her red dress, comforted him. But here's what they didn't know. The hospital was in on it. Dr. Patricia Williams was my college roommate. When I told her everything, showed her the evidence, she helped me plan the most elaborate revenge scheme of my life. They kept me in the morgue for 3 days. Officially dead. Death certificate filed. Insurance claim submitted. Desmond and Lulu moved fast. They were at his lawyer's office within 48 hours, starting the claims process. My funeral was scheduled for the following week. Meanwhile, I was very much alive, watching everything through the cameras I'd hidden in Desmond's house before the wedding. On day 3, I heard the conversation that made everything worthwhile. "I can't believe we pulled it off," Lulu said, pouring champagne in Desmond's living room. $5 million, baby. We're set for life. What about her kids? Desmond laughed. What about them? They're not my problem anymore. My children. He was talking about abandoning my babies like they were trash. That's when I knew I had to move up the timeline. I spent those 3 days in hiding, planning every detail. The police were already involved, thanks to the evidence I'd gathered. But I wanted more than arrests. I wanted them to feel the same terror they'd put me through. My sister Christy, a criminal defense attorney in Atlanta, flew down immediately. She brought my other sister, Detective Sarah Morgan from the Miami PD. Yes, I have 2 sisters named Sarah. Our parents weren't creative. "This is the most insane thing I've ever been part of," Christy said, reviewing the evidence. "But it's airtight. They're going to prison for a long time." "Not yet," I said. "First, they need to see me." The funeral was held at the same church where we'd gotten married 6 days earlier. Desmond wore black, looking appropriately devastated. Lulu sat in the back, pretending to be a distant colleague. The casket was closed. Inside was a weighted dummy. I watched from the church balcony as 200 people mourned me. My kids were with my mom, protected from this circus. They knew I was alive. They knew Mommy was fighting back. Desmond gave a eulogy that would have won an Oscar. "Maya was the love of my life," he said, voice breaking. "I don't know how I'll go on without her." That's when I walked through the church doors. The silence was deafening. 200 people turned to stare at me as I walked down the aisle in jeans and a t-shirt that read, "Not dead." Desmond's face went white. Lulu tried to run but found her exit blocked by Detective Sarah and 6 uniformed officers. "Surprise, husband," I said, stopping in front of him. "I heard you thought I was poisoned with my favorite wine." Funny thing about that wine, it was never poisoned. But the story you told about trying to save me? That's going to be really interesting in court. I nodded to Christy, who stepped forward with a folder. "Desmond Carter, you're under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder," Detective Sarah said, handcuffing him. The church erupted. People screaming, phones recording, chaos everywhere. "You can't do this," Desmond said, his voice shaking. "I didn't do anything." "She's alive." "Exactly," I said. "I'm alive because I was smarter than you. Because I knew something was wrong when you took out a $5 million life insurance policy on someone you'd known for 8 months. Because I hired investigators who found every text, every plan, every disgusting detail of your scheme." Lulu was screaming, being dragged away by officers. "We loved each other," she shouted at me. "You were just in the way." "No," I said calmly. "I was supposed to be dead. But instead, you're both going to prison. And that insurance policy? I'm the beneficiary now." Funny how that works when someone tries to murder you. Christy had worked legal magic. Because Desmond had attempted to kill me for the insurance money, the policy was voided, and the premiums he'd paid were awarded to me as part of the civil suit. Not $5 million, but enough. Combined with everything else I'd seized in emergency court orders, I was walking away with his house, his car, and his frozen bank accounts. Desmond was going to prison broke. That was 6 months ago. Desmond and Lulu are awaiting trial. Their bail was denied. The evidence was overwhelming. Texts, recordings, the poisoned wine bottle they'd prepared, everything. My lawyer says they're looking at 25 years minimum. I moved to Austin with my kids. Fresh start. New life. We live in a house I bought with the settlement money, and every morning I wake up grateful to be alive. People ask me how I stayed so calm, how I planned everything so perfectly. The truth? I didn't feel calm. I was terrified. But I was also done being a victim. My ex-husband taught me that love could be a lie. Desmond taught me that some people see other humans as nothing more than dollar signs. But I taught myself something more important. I'm not weak. I'm not disposable. And I'm definitely not easy to kill. My name is Maya Jenkins. On my wedding night, my husband tried to murder me for insurance money. He failed, and now every morning when I wake up, I smile knowing he's waking up in a cell, realizing the woman he thought was an easy target was actually his worst nightmare. I'm alive. My kids are safe. And the man who tried to erase me is erased instead. That's not just survival. That's victory.